So with us jumping back into the Venom series for issue 36, this now brings us into the Venom War tie-in territory. And prior to this, we talked about how this series has a lot of Terminator references going on. Well, all of that gets cranked up for this one. So with that said, if you're enjoying these videos, make sure to drop a like, subscribe if you're new to the channel, and don't forget to hit that bell up top to get all notifications so we can squad up in the comments for the first hour. Alright, so for this one, we start out in old man Dylan Brock's future in New York, with him making his way to the center of the city. And all we really know about this future at this point is that mankind is doomed, which is why this older version of Dylan Brock needs to go back in time and correct that. And when we find him here, he's being chased down by these things that look like a mixture between the machines from War of the Worlds and the Matrix Sentinels. Like, we're not really told exactly what they are, though I'm sure we'll learn more about them and the rest of this future down the line. But with future Dylan making his way to the center of the city, he gets a bit nostalgic here, and he thinks about how he used to love this place, cause even with things in ruin, the place still feels familiar. And even though his mission is to prevent this future from happening, there's still things in this version of the world that he's gonna miss. But the fact of the matter is, if he's successful in this mission, then he'll never see this world again, because it'll cease to exist. But to take it a step further, if he's successful in his mission, he won't be seeing anything ever again, because he'll fade away along with it. And it's because of that, future Dylan has accepted the fact that it's his mission to die. But if he dies now, then everything he's done to this point will have been for nothing. And for a moment here, he's nearly taken out by one of these things, until it's shot and he's suddenly saved by the future version of Normie, alongside of his mother, future Liz Allen. And in addition to them, we also see the Bailey Briggs of this time, who in the present day is Spider-Boy, who swings in to let them know more trouble's on the way. But this leads into what Dylan knows is going to be his last moment with them, and it causes him to even second guess if he's doing the right thing, because they mean the world to him, and he's about to erase this future from existence. And just before Dylan's able to jump back to the present day, Normie and the others have danger close, so Liz opens fire first, because she's not about to watch her son die, and Dylan's just forced to watch them be overwhelmed as he makes his jump back to the present day. And as soon as old man Dylan arrives in the present day, he knows exactly where to go to find his younger self, which from here takes us back into the conversation between old man Dylan and present day Dylan that we got back in Venom issue 35 as well as Venom War issue 1. So I'm not going to spend too much time on this part here, but I do want to put a bit of an emphasis on some of the things that future Dylan said to his younger self. Like, for starters, he mentions the machine on his back is Doom Tech, so it'll allow him to change the past so that way it stays changed. Because if you guys remember, back in Venom issue 25, Doom mentioned how he invented the true method of time travel that wouldn't bind him within the cages of time, because so many others that time travel to the past either do what they were destined to do, which would later make no difference in the future, or in addition, they would make an alternate past instead of actually altering the past. So for Doom, instead of being locked within the cage of the laws of time, he rose above it by implementing magic where the science had limitations. So unlike those who find themselves locked within the rules of time, Doom considers them to be doom-locked since his understanding is superior and the others failed to adopt a greater degree of magical thinking. And I say that just to point out the fact that if anyone could create a device that would allow future Dylan to go back and change his past and create an alternate past without it branching off into a new timeline, Doom Tech is undoubtedly the way to go. But going forward, future Dylan goes on to talk about how time is a juggernaut, it goes where it wants to go. So for that reason, the further you go back, the harder it is to change where you came from. Which once again goes back to Doom's explanation when he mentioned the butterfly effect. Because even though individual events have weight that'll change the future, if you go back too far, you either have to change something insanely substantial, or you have to kill an insane number of butterflies to produce the change that you want to see in your future. And that's why with old man Dylan, as he's also called here, he tells his younger self there are 3 points in the past that he needs to push on in order to kill his future. So he goes on to say, if I do it right and you do your part, at the end of this, we'll get one golden opportunity. And just before he leaves, he tells present day Dylan, I'm going to make you a weapon, but if I fail, then you know what's coming. So following this, old man Dylan goes further back in time. And when he does, his symbiote says, I hate doing that. I'm sure Doom made it uncomfortable on purpose. But we're not really told much about the symbiote that's with him, but for simplicity's sake, I'm just assuming it's Venom, since Old Man Dylan Brock is also referred to as Old Man Venom, though that hasn't happened yet in the actual story. So for that reason, I'm still kind of on the fence as far as what I want to call him. But nonetheless, we find out he's gone a little bit further into the past to find Molten Man, who at this point is not too hard to find, since future records state that in this moment, Molten Man will bring a lot of attention to himself. But Dylan doesn't engage right away, he waits, because he knows Spider-Man's gonna show up and he needs to let Spider-Man do his thing first. But the crazy thing is, the news article that Dylan's using to even know when and where to go to find Molten Man, the photo in that article was taken by Eddie Brock. So when Dylan shows up here, waiting for his moment to go after Molten Man, not only does he see his father, Eddie Brock, taking the picture, which Dylan might have photobombed in this moment, we'll have to wait and see, but also Eddie has Anne Wang with her right now. So for Dylan, this is the first time he's ever seen his mother. And I think that in itself kind of catches him off guard here, because when Eddie takes the picture, it looks like Dylan may have stepped into it. So we'll have to wait and see if that gives us the whole Back to the Future changing picture thing at some point later on. But following this, Molten Man breaks out of his webbing, and he tosses the police car at the officers who were arresting him, just before sticking Dylan with the left and taking off into the alley, which is just messed up on so many levels. So Dylan rushes to help the officers first, before going after Molten Man. And when he does, it's here where we get a glimpse at what's the next step of his plan, because the first thing he does when he gets close enough is heat Molten Man up, so he can soften his skin for the next phase of the plan. But it doesn't make the process easier for the two of them, with Molten Man still trying to fight back, which I mean makes sense because I'm sure he's experiencing some level of discomfort, but it also hurts Dylan to fight Molten Man with every point of contact, since the metallic alloy is now burning through his symbiote skin. But following this, Dylan's gun then turns into a syringe, which he just jams into Molten Man so he can take a sample. And of course, with seeing this, it makes me wonder if everything on Dylan, including the Doom tech, is all made from the symbiote. Because earlier in the Venom series, we learned this is what Carlton Drake was aiming for, which at the time is what he would call the long game of providing harsh stimulations for the Venom symbiote so he could watch it evolve over time, which is why he created Spearhead to give Venom that first push, though later we would find out that this was all really the plan of Meridius. But even before this kicked off, the latest evolution, if you will, for the Venom symbiote came at the conclusion of King in Black. When Dylan first bonded to the Venom symbiote and started using chains, it was upgrades like this that Carlton Drake and Meridius wanted to build upon, to find the upper limits of what the symbiote could do. So eventually, with all this symbiote chaos made its way to Doom's doorstep, he traveled to the future, he saw the Venom War, and he knew scientifically this fight could end a number of ways, but magically it would come down to two. So we've known for some time that Doom had decided to take it upon himself to determine how the Venom War would play out, and what better way to do that than to incorporate Doom tech with symbiotes, because the magic testing we've already seen with Bedlam during Dark Web. But that's just me speculating at this point. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. But as soon as Dylan drives this huge needle into Molten Man, he hears a voice from behind him saying, "Hey Gramps, I don't know what you're doing with that needle hand there, but let's keep it family friendly, okay?" As he turns around and sees young Spider-Man right behind him, which now makes it the second time young Peter Parker's gotten caught up in all this since back in Venom issue 25, when he also crossed paths with a time-traveling Eddie Brock. And I mean, it's the second time as far as what we've seen in just the Venom series, because on top of that, you also have the symbiote Spider-Man King in Black tie-in, which also had a bit of time travel as well. But following this, as we go further along and deeper into Venom War, I am curious to see what effects all of this time travel and these new encounters in this alternate past, as Doom would call it, have on Peter in the modern day. And I'll talk more about that when we cover Venom War Spider-Man, because present day Peter is definitely seeing some ripple effects. And so now real quick, I want to give a special shout out to all the patrons. Thank you guys for all of your support. And for anyone who's new here who wants more information on how to support the channel, I got a link below where you can go to patreon.com/dopespill. But that'll do it for this one, guys. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, and we'll do it again on the next one. Alright, later.